Hello YouTube, this is VidHead85 and thank you so much for joining this installment of That Childfree Guy. This one is called Adventures in Babysitting. We have the first one is from Kid Spot. My brother refuses to babysit my son because he's child-free. I showed up on his doorstep saying I was desperate, but he refused to look after my son. A frustrated father has taken to Reddit to vent about the fact his wife's brother refuses to look after their 4-year-old son. He explained that he had asked his brother-in-law on multiple occasions to look after their little boy while they worked, but he refused because he is child-free by choice. Far from receiving the sympathy he expected, the father was labeled selfish and entitled for expecting so much from a family member. We have been having an incredibly busy work schedule the last 2 years, and my family's been doing a great job helping out with our son, the man wrote in his post. We usually have members of my in-laws take our son whenever we have a work trip or a shift coming up. The man explained that while other family members were happy to help, his 31-year-old brother-in-law didn't want to be responsible for the little boy. He's made it clear that he's just not interested in spending time with his nephew. Keeps saying that the reason for that is that he's actually child-free, and he puts it in quotes, he explained. For so many emergencies, he has turned me and my wife away when we begged him to watch our son, and he didn't even budge or apologize for his attitude. Things came to a head when the father had a work meeting while his wife was away on a work trip. With his in-laws busy at a wedding, he decided to show up on his brother-in-law's doorstep and beg to look after his son. I told him I was desperate for help and needed him to watch my son for 2 hours, the man wrote. He refused. I begged him and he just said no. I had enough and I confronted him and asked why does he not like his nephew, and he threw that, "No, it's just I'm child-free" excuse, which made me lose it. I told him to stop because it's cringe of him to keep saying that and use it as an excuse to be unsupportive of me and his sister and cold towards his nephew. When the man's in-laws found out about the disagreement, they weren't happy. They called me out for disrespecting their son and treating him like that. They insisted that he's not responsible for my son and I shouldn't expect so much from him. They wanted me to apologize. While the man wondered whether he should apologize or not, he got little sympathy from Reddit users. How entitled are you? Your brother-in-law has been clear about who he is and what he won't do, but because that's not convenient for you, you feel you can disrespect him, wrote one user. The entitlement and irresponsibility here is jaw-dropping, added another. You are not arranging proper childcare for your son, although it's shockingly easy. You are not planning for emergencies. You are forcing someone who is A, unpaid, B, unwilling, and C, unhappy to babysit your son without consideration to their needs and wants. Some people are not comfortable with kids, whether they're related or not. He's one of those people. Delete him from your list of go-tos. Most people were baffled as to why the parents haven't arranged permanent childcare if they often found themselves in situations where they needed to ask someone who was clearly unwilling to help to look after their 4-year-old. I would never dream of expecting my siblings and siblings-in-law to be impromptu babysitters at my beck and call, especially if they've expressed no interest in watching my child, wrote one user. If both parents are working, then you should be able to afford childcare. Sounds like they decided to have a baby with absolutely no plan on how they were going to care for it, wrote another user. My comments on this is simply, I think, one, this man is entitled. Two, the other thing is, I think that he's trying to push. I think he's used to being able to get his way, and now that he is being rebuffed and that someone is holding their boundary really, really close and keeping that boundary within, he's pissed. So that's what's happening here. And honestly, there are a lot of entitled parents out there who feel that just because they have an emergency, that you should be able to do whatever they want. No, that's not happening. Here we go into our second piece. It's from the New York Post, from Jana Hawking, and it says, I'm child-free by choice, so no, I don't want to look after your kids. Look, there's no polite way to put this. Dear people with kids, look after your own damn children. There, I said it. This fury has been quietly raging in me for a couple of years now. It started when a few of my girlfriends started coupling off. Sure, I've managed to come to peace with the fact that once my friends find their special person, I'm probably not going to see them for a couple of months, at least until they've come out of the honeymoon period. I've never complained because I've secretly hoped that they would understand when I too went through that phase. It's exciting and lusty and totally worth dumping your friends for a few months of lovey-dovey ridiculousness. But then something happens once they start having kids. We singletons become less friends and more servants to you and your children. Think I'm being extreme? I'm really not. Take this for example. Last weekend, I'm sitting at the pub with my fellow child-free girlfriends, enjoying a cheeky bottle of sparkles, when one of my friends runs in late from a visit with her coupled-up friends with kids. She is in a mood. As we hastily pour her a big glass of something containing alcohol, she sighs and explains that these friends are seriously taking a piss. We lean in as she explains that she was given a gap of 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon to come visit them, as the kids had no sports games to go to, no other child's parties, and that they would be home. Hurrah! She drops everything and scoots over there, as she hasn't seen them in yonks, and this friendship is important to her. She's there for no longer than 10 minutes before she's hit in the head with a flying football. Then comes the favor. Turns out, they're moving house the following weekend and would like her to help them pack and move boxes, then entertain the kids while movers do their thing. Now for reference, this couple are doing quite well for themselves. They have the money to pay a babysitter and those fancy movers who pack everything up pre-move. But no. Instead, they assume their very single friend would have nothing better to do with her weekend than pack up someone else's house and entertain someone else's kids. This friend works ridiculously hard during the weekend, and having chosen not to have kids of her own means that her weekends are a special time for her to unwind and recoup for the following busy week. Now don't get me wrong, I get the whole it takes a village to raise a child thing, but when did we become free babysitters? I've noticed it a lot with my own friends and family who have kids. I'll arrive at a dinner party super excited to catch up with them, only to be greeted with the, "Oh look kids, Jana came to play," before I'm rushed to the rumpus room to play boring games with kids while mom and dad go chill and have a wine. Can I object? No, because then I'm a party pooper. But do I want to guess what little Johnny has in his mouth for the millionth time? No, that is literal torture for me. Yes, I am aware that makes me selfish, but I've made the life choice not to have them, so I would prefer not to be tricked into it, thank you very much. So where do we draw the line? If you say, "I'd love to catch up with you, but not your kids," you're a bad friend. But the alternative sees you giving up your weekends to play Superman in the backyard with someone else's child. No, thank you. Thankfully, I've got a brilliant lifelong friend who knows me well enough to know our friendship comes with a no-kids boundary. Instead, she makes sure her husband is on dad duty while we go and enjoy a glorious lunch. We both get something out of it. We can enjoy a really good conversation without the constant interruption of children, and she gets to leave the house for some proper adult time. Honestly, I can't recommend it enough. So while I'm super chuffed for all of you clucky folk who have taken the very adult step of having children, I would ask that you remember we childless folk prefer to spend our weekends in the company of adults. Less flying balls, snots, and tantrums. Well, only my own. So anyway, thank you for this adventure in babysitting. If you made it through, please let me know. If you see any other articles, let me show them below. Let me know. And, well, thank you for joining That Childfree Guy. Talk to you soon.